Hello everybody, my name is Uzi Gorilla. Last week I talked a little bit about how you could balance Spartan Charge for Halo 6. This week I wanted to state my case for why it should be removed outright. On paper it seemed like a good idea, but I'm of the opinion that in practice it just doesn't work. Last time I talked about how you could balance Spartan Charge. As I said before, this time I wanted to state my case, again, for why Spartan Charge should be removed altogether for Halo 6 and from the franchise going forward. One reason people usually state in defense of Spartan Charge is it's a way to counter the sprinting double melee from Halo Reach and Halo 4. For those that are unaware, in Halo Reach and 4, people would sprint right up to an enemy and then hit them with two melees. Rather obvious, I'd say. A lot of players had issues with that and say that Spartan Charge is a nice way to remedy that problem. As far as I'm concerned, Spartan Charge is, at best, just as bad as the double melee. Spartan Charge is essentially just a melee itself. The only thing that makes it different from the double melee is the knockback, and while it does take away the ability to do a second melee, it only takes a few bullets to kill the player, usually from an assault rifle, resulting in the same effect as the double melee, a quick death with next to no repercussions. While yes, technically it fixes the double melee issue, you can no longer melee someone twice for a quick kill, it introduces an equally frustrating result. It isn't an improvement, it's a side grade at best, a downgrade at worst. The next major argument in defense of Spartan Charge, and the biggest crux to my argument for its removal, is the fact that you can only use it while sprinting. In order to counter this argument, we have to talk about sprint. First off, I want to say that I'm neither pro or anti-sprint. That's a topic for another video. What I wanted to talk about was the philosophy behind sprint as it pertains to gameplay. The whole point of sprint is giving up offensive capabilities in order to get around the map faster. Giving up your offensive ability is key here. Sprint is meant to be a calculated decision. You are supposed to weigh the benefits of getting back into the action faster or being defenseless if someone targets you before you get to where you're going. The fact that 343 balanced sprint so your shields don't recharge while sprinting is support of this. You can't reliably use sprint to escape a firefight like you could in Reach or 4. Because of this philosophy, it's counterintuitive to then give you the ability to charge for damage from sprint, an ability that, again, is about being defenseless. Slide is a great example of an ability that actually plays into the strengths of the principles of sprint. It's an ability that leaves you unable to fight back, but reduces your profile so it's harder to get hit, and maintains your speed so you can more easily get into cover. If you want to add abilities that are tied to sprint, make sure that ability plays into the design principles of sprint. Spartan Charge being tied to sprint also leads to reckless play. When trying to finish my combination for Spartan Charge, I found myself running into places I never would have run into if I wasn't looking to use the charge. I can't tell you how many times I see someone sprint and charge around a corner, only to die because they put themselves in a terrible position. Instead of being careful and maybe doing something that results in not only a kill, but in a position to also live, you're charging around a corner and getting yourself killed. Halo has always been about tactical thinking. Being able to sprint into a room with reckless abandon because you can just Spartan Charge away your mistake is in direct opposition of this idea. This is especially damaging to new and lesser skilled players. Sprinting recklessly into a room may work in lower level play, but as soon as you get into platinum ranks and higher, it won't work nearly as well. You also get to the point where it's a 50-50 shot on whether or not the charger or the enemy will win any given encounter. This is frustrating for the non-charging player because they made the better play. They were in a better position and even got the first shots on the charger in certain cases. It isn't fair or fun to have the charger win when you are actually playing better. It hurts both parties. The charger doesn't learn that they should slow down, and the heads-up player feels ripped off. This also leads nicely into the next and last argument people tend to use in defense of Spartan Charge's inclusion. Because it isn't overused by pro players, it's a sign that it's balanced. While I believe there is some validity to this argument, I think there's a bigger reason why you don't see Spartan Charge in higher level play. My reasoning is tied to the tactical thinking I mentioned earlier. Because pro players are on such a high level, they know that sprint is only really useful for getting back into the fray. You won't see pros sprinting around corners when they don't know what awaits them. Given the high level of communication on pro teams, if you see someone sprinting around the corner, you know they know exactly what awaits them, and if they're coming from behind the enemy, then you'll see them Spartan Charge. I feel the lack of use in pro play is actually an argument for the removal of Spartan Charge. Pros barely use it because there are very few instances where it's useful. You could argue that it's a good ability to have because it helps even the odds between good players and bad players. It gives the bad player a chance against someone that's better than them. Trying to close the skill gap by adding abilities that are easy to use is a noble goal. However, Spartan Charge closes that gap too much. Because it evens the odds to 50-50, if you're the better player, you feel cheated. Even if you were to survive being charged, you don't feel like you accomplished anything. You don't feel like you played well, you just feel like you got lucky. If you're the player doing the charging, you feel good for killing the player that's better than them, sure, but you aren't doing them any favors in the long run. And what's worse is this isn't something that player realizes is a problem. I personally feel the removal of Spartan Charge is a good thing all around. Even though it's a nice, cheap way to close that skill gap, it's frustrating for all players involved, knowingly and unknowingly. Those are my thoughts on why I feel Spartan Charge should be removed outright. If you agree with me, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. If you have an alternate idea or a counter-argument, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Keep it civil and let's have a constructive discussion. It's sorely missing from the Halo community. Also leave a comment if you have something you'd like me to talk about. If you want to know when my next video goes live, subscribe to be notified of it. Also, click the I in the top right corner of the video for my video on how to balance Spartan Charge, as well as some other Halo related content. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.